Yeah. Yeah, you looked more like when we were back there, you look more like that now. But when we saw you on the video the other day, you look completely different. You were clean shaven, huh?
Yeah. Looked like you were 12 years old, man.
Been a long time since I was 12 years old.
But you feel like 12 most of the time.
I act like I'm 12 anyway.
Okay, there you go. Hey, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing really good. Doing really good.
Good.
A little bit of a cold bug, but other than that, doing really good.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself for everybody listening and watching?
Yeah, and y'all listen to this too, so you know it is RJohnathon.
RJohnathon.
It's not John. It can be RJ. I'll do RJ. I'm okay with that. But
okay, RJohnathon or RJ, one or the other. That'll work.
Yeah, so like I said, RJohnathon. I live in the middle of Missouri, and in Columbia. I love hunting and fishing with my dad and all that basic stuff. So when I first got into carving, I wanted to do a picture of my dog. I'd just gotten a new German Shepherd, and I've always wanted a German Shepherd named Josie Wales. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little sign.
Yeah.
Before I did it, I didn't know how I wanted to do it. So I started looking on YouTube, and I found Eric and Dave on YouTube. And so I started watching all their videos. And, you know, when I built my shop, I started out doing just little things, you know, custom pieces of furniture, beer caddies, all just a little tinkering around stuff I could figure out. But man, after watching Dave's signs for a while, that's all I wanted to do was signs. Yeah. So then I started doing signs, and then I started to sell a few, and then I'm like, okay, this is fun. This kind of contributes to my artwork. And for like 25 years, I was a cake decorator. So I have all these little ideas floating around in my head from stuff we'd done before. So that first Halloween, I started making a few Halloween signs, and it really took off from there. That's kind of when my carving met my artistic side, and I could do what I wanted. So I learned all the basics and the how-tos from watching Dave's. And then one day I watched Henry Satterfield do some videos, and then he just flew through them. I'm like, well, I could try that. So then I tried that. So using both of these guys as mentors, that's when I started becoming a carver and just loving what I do, loving making all my carvings.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
So that Josie Wales, then that was the first one that you had done?
That was my first sign? Very first sign.
Pretty impressive for a first sign, obviously. And that's what I mention a lot, is that sometimes first sign carvers make fantastic signs. It looks like they've been doing it for a long time, but sometimes it's not so much that, but it kind of depends on what you come into it with. And your cake decorating background and having that artistic ability, you know, just lent itself to just starting off right away, making great looking signs.
Yeah, well, my first venture into art is I grew up an Army brat with my dad in the Army, and I grew up mostly in Germany. I spent like 13 years of my first 17 years over there. And just to kill time, I got into spray painting the trains. So after tagging everything, and some of those trains, you had to rappel down from the bridges to get to where they were stationary. So it became just pretty creative. But then, of course, I met my wife and tried to turn into a good little human being. And so then I went to work. And
so in Germany, was graffiti like frowned upon over there? It was probably was it on the base?
No, I'd go out into the city. I wouldn't defame Army product. No way. So we had a whole country out there.
Good for you. Good for you. That's a good American.
I got
so some of those because you know we have a train tracks that runs right through our little town and get caught behind trains all the time. And man, you see some of those the graffiti on those train cars. It's like, dude, that is some serious talent.
Artistic, yeah.
There's some serious talent out there with the spray cans.
Yeah.
So that when you stopped doing like the trains and stuff, did you draw a lot? Because I know a lot of your layout, you just draw it on there.
Yeah, I've always drawn quite a bit. I mean, when I was a kid, it was a way to impress girls when I was in school, and then so I just kind of kept with it and
Yeah.
used that all the way along.
Huh.
Yeah.
So did
I'm
you
not
do any kind of formal schooling, any kind of formal training from that standpoint?
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
So how did you end up in the cake decorating world?
We had a girl that quit as the cake decorator, and I'm like, I could do that. So I did it. And they're like, oh wow, you're hired. So
And
well, I
that
could always,
was at a store you were working at or something?
yeah, I started a store called Knowles,
Uh-huh.
and when she left, I'm like, I can write on the cakes. I can write on anything. Give me a pencil, give me a spray paint can,
Yeah.
whatever. I'll write on it. And so I picked up the icing bag, and my very first one was spot on. So my writing was always there. So then I learned all the other little trades, and within the week, I was the full-time cake decorator.
That's so cool.
That's pretty cool, man.
I turned it into a 25-year career. I used to travel all over the country for J.W. Allen as their head cake decorating trainer.
Huh.
But then I decided I wanted to stay married and come home and be a part of the family.
Yeah.
So then I took a job up at Hy-Vee. That's where I work now. So I'm almost 20 years later now.
And what's that? So what's your current profession then?
My current profession is meat cutter.
Meat cutter. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm still at Hy-Vee, but after the bakery, now I'm pretty much a shift worker. I work my shift and go home. I got a clear head. I can go out to the shop and cut and make some signs, draw some out, do whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not preoccupied with the job. I'm not trying to make a career anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all my extra thoughts and stuff go into signs and what I can do to make signs, and work just takes care of the insurance and
Yeah.
basics for the family.
Very cool.
So how often do you carve, would you say?
My wife would probably say all the time, but I like to be out in the shop probably 3 nights a week. And then there's, if the weather's bad or something, then I go into the art room and then I'll do some layouts. So I kind of like to get, 3 or 4 laid out and then go down there and do a carving jam session.
Yeah.
Where do you find your inspiration for ideas?
For ideas, I'm always looking for ideas. I do the vectors a lot, or I just punch into Google vector.
Yeah.
If I'm after a particular image.
So then is the majority of your signs that you carve, the majority of it's drawn on, or do you do the inkjet transfer? I know you have some of our stuff, but you do all kinds of other stuff too.
Yeah, I'm pretty much carbon paper.
Okay.
If I have a design, I transfer it on with carbon. And my thought is, if I can trace it out on carbon, then I can carve it. And if I can't make it work on the actual design, I can change it over and do what I want to, and then carbon it in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Got it. Okay.
All right.
I don't have it, but I got a gnome set from you guys
Yeah.
that I did a bunch with the little he's smoking a joint and he's got a pot leaf on his head. It's your stencil. I just altered it enough to make him smoking a joint and added a pot leaf on his head.
Yeah.
It's not that artistic. It's just kind of how do I get this done?
Sure.
Yeah.
I can draw a little bit, and I like using the stencils. And especially, I figured out at the show, those stencils are great if you're doing a live carving rather than drawing it out.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the show you just did, because that was what, like 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, it was on July 8th. And let me go back a little bit and I'll tell you a story of how that show came to be. Because one of my friends works, and of course, this was from a wedding cake venue. he has his own little venue out in the woods, and he does wedding cakes. So I've done all the signs now. I mean, he's been out there for like 20 years, so I'm doing all, new signage from all the old signs that are going away. And my idea is I can sell, one of the bridal signs, the Satterfields established whenever.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
That for him. Now what we've done is he buys the signs and makes it part of the wedding package.
Oh, that's a good idea. So he actually, it's a full wedding venue. And,
Right.
and part of the package is they get a personalized sign.
Yeah.
That's
a
pretty
big
cool.
wedding. And and he has a little photo nook, and I did the sign that says photo nook. And then I've got signs on the inside with my name and stuff on them.
Yeah.
The Just Hitch. I just did one that I'll post later, the King and Queen, with that little lion and lioness stencil that I got from you guys the last time.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to and that's just for them to take pictures with and hold up. But, that gets my name out there and they can see if they want something more
Sure.
specific. So I've been, working with this guy. He actually has a lumber mill out there on the backside of the property.
Wow.
So it's just been working out great for me. And then he says that he's doing this show. I'm like, yeah, well, I'd be interested in that. That's a different clientele, because the bread and butter of my work and my friends are the hunting and fishing and the patriots and the, true Americana. And I don't think I would have ever signed up for the Hash and Glass Festival if I wasn't part of the park and already had a way in. And that, to me, now that I know, would have been a huge mistake, because I did great at this show.
Yeah.
I sold stuff that I never thought I would sell. And then I sold a bunch of stuff that I thought I could sell, because I put pretty good prices on stuff. And at the end of it, I was like sad because I sold a couple of my favorite pieces and some of my first pieces. I'm like, oh man, now I don't have those pieces anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So he said, won't you come out for that? I'm like, sure. He gave me a prime location. I think y'all saw the video.
Oh, man, it was great.
It was incredible.
I had it all spread out and I sold 45 signs.
Dude,
that's so
And
awesome.
that crowd was the chillest crowd, as you can imagine.
Oh, yeah, they were all stoned out of their mind. Yeah, everybody had a good time. Yeah.
There was no problems out there whatsoever. And I had people, so at the start of the show, the first sign that I carved live was for a friend of mine who had a booth up the way a little bit.
Yeah.
So I grabbed his business card and took it down, and I just carved a sign with some trees on it and the words on there. And I took it up to him, and the booth next to him wanted a sign. So when I got that one done, I took it up there, and then that booth next to them wanted a sign. So all day long, it just kept plopping. And then by the end of the day, I didn't have enough time to get all the signs done. So I was taking orders. And so the week after that, I spent filling orders, sending them to the vendors. I would have made money just on the vendors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without the other 1,000 people that came through the park that day.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big show, 1,000 people, because it was one day, right? Sorry, I didn't mean.
Yeah, it was just the single day, right?
Yeah, one day. It started it was 11 to 7, so it was an 8-hour show.
Wow,
Man.
45 signs in 8 hours.
That's pretty
freaking good.
So
the guy that I'm sorry.
Oh, you're right.
So then the guy that has the wedding venue place, was he the one putting this show on? Did I hear you right in that?
Yeah, I mean, Hash and Glass is a separate thing. They were having a show at his venue.
Oh, okay, gotcha. It was at his place.
Yeah, so he was just hosting the event.
All right.
So when I pulled up in the morning through the vendor line, they're out there and they're like, oh yeah, you're a part of the park. Come on in. So I went and set up and did everything as just part of the park.
So you were like a VIP from the stance that you were part of the venue itself, rather than being an external vendor coming in.
Right. So I got to bypass the fees, everything. And you saw the layout that I got the best spot.
Oh, dude,
it was incredible.
Just, yeah, because everything was nice and spread out. It didn't look cluttered, and you had a plenty of space.
It was kind of multi-level, like you were up a little bit higher and then the camera angle was down below. It was like you could walk around like I don't know, it was like a botanical garden or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
it was
you could,
nice.
you had to walk past my signs no matter what you did. So I tried to put enough signs out on the walkthrough that got you to come down into my lane and see what else we had going on down there.
And so you had just a pile of signs that you did prior to that you just happened to have that you hadn't done, or did you prepare and just carve like crazy before you went out there just for that?
Well, once I found your site, I carved like crazy for a long time, just honing my skills.
Yeah,
And then, a lot of those signs, I seen somebody else on the site do them.
Yeah.
One of Don Spicer's signs. I mean, I like some of the stuff he does. So, I was
nice
just out
stuff.
there and, just pulling everything together. And I just,
And
I
your
had,
wife is like, what are we doing with all these signs? What are we were they like piling up? And your wife is like, we're running out of room. Where are we gonna put all these, right?
yeah, exactly. I had signs everywhere. So
Yeah.
it was great because my wife and my daughter came to the show.
Yeah.
So it was nice for my wife to see some money coming in from all the time that I spend out in the shed.
Yeah.
And my daughter was great. She was in her element. She was selling everything while I was live carving.
Yeah.
Every time somebody stopped, she went out and talked to them, and then it worked. I mean, because she's all bubbling with, yeah, my dad can make anything you want, and da 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 da. I'm just sitting up there listening and smiling and carving away.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
I had one lady come up and she wanted a Bible verse on a
Mhm.
piece of an obscure Bible verse, and no, she hadn't seen it anywhere. I'm like, I can make it. Let me write it out. So I wrote it out and carved it right there on site, and I mean, she loved it. It was great.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. So tell the people, so it was an 8-hour show one day. Obviously there was, you had a bunch of stock stuff saved up. But if you don't mind telling everybody, how much did you make in an 8-hour show?
I made $1,200
Yeah.
straight sign sales the day of the show,
Right.
and then I had another $400 or $500 worth of orders
Oh, on top of that?
for the week after. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I've done, a craft fair or two. And I mean, I went to my first craft fair and there were a lot of good craft people there. So there were artists everywhere.
Yeah.
But at the Hash and Tag Festival, I was pretty much the only artist. I didn't have craft competition from anybody. Everybody else was, selling bud and all kinds of, pot related stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought I could do pretty well, like with my peace, love, and weed signs. I did a bunch of them, and some baked boulevard signs. I did some street signs. So I mean, I had some specific signs geared towards that clientele.
Sure.
But I sold all kinds of signs. I even sold one of the gone fishing signs.
Good.
It's the only one that I would have probably, the only one of my normal type of signs that I.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had some signs that I never even liked. I didn't like the way they turned out, but I put a good price on them and sold them out the door.
Yeah.
So it was great all the way around. And then another thing, I'm having to do this Zoom at my wife's office because my reception down in the shop isn't any good.
Yeah.
Or I can show you. But one thing I've started to do is a little bit more carving with my Dremel and my die grinder.
Mm-hmm.
But you should see the way I do it, because I start my carving with my router.
Yeah.
And a profile bit.
Yeah.
Kind of carve it, lay it out, do a few of my little different depths. Then I break out and go into the deeper.
Do your relief and different things, the power carving part of it, after you've done your routing.
Right.
Yeah.
My routing is pretty much my layout for the carve.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the thing, man. There's so many different things you can do, so many different, just especially with the die grinder and the power carving. I mean,
and the disc grinder and even the Dremel.
yeah,
We use a Fordham, but that in essence is the same thing. Gets down to really, really tiny stuff if you have to get in between some tiny stuff. So we use the Fordham in place of the Dremel. But then the die grinder and the angle grinder, there's pretty much not much that you can't do.
yeah. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
When you lay it out and again, route it first and then do all of your power carving after that. Your layout's already done. You know what you want. Now you just have to decide what texture and all that stuff. So much creativity comes into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then was most of your sales, were they signs that were already carved, or were they custom orders where people wanted to buy them?
Most of them were already carved. I had plenty to keep me all day long with custom sales.
Yeah.
With people coming up, and especially when somebody was walking around with a sign, I just carved for them. And I had several signs that I left a little bit of room on to add a name or a verse or whatever. So I had a little bit of that, but the bulk of them were signs that I already had done.
Okay. And and again, not to get into the money part of it too much, but was it all cash sales, or were you set up to take credit cards or debit cards, or how did that work?
Most of it was cash sales.
Really?
I did have a Venmo.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So that they could pay on the computer. And that was well worth it, because that was probably $300 to $400 worth of my sales was on the Venmo.
Right.
Yeah.
And how
And
is
then,
that an app on the phone kind of thing? So was it fairly convenient for people to do that then?
yeah. I sent them with my daughter. I just gave her my phone, and
Yeah.
she did her magic and said, "You're good, Dad." And
Yeah.
when I checked my Venmo account afterward, there was like $400 in it. And then I kind of learned how the Venmo works afterwards, because a lot of the sales that I made for after that I mailed out and stuff,
Yeah.
they would pay me through Venmo.
Gotcha.
All right.
So you would take an order for people that were like the week after or whatever, you would take the order and then you would send them before you ship it or whatever, you would send them a Venmo invoice, they would pay it and then you shipped. Is that kind of?
Really, I just sent them a picture of my this. They scan that on their phones, and the next thing I know, I'm paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy anymore.
Good old technology, man. There's some benefits to it.
Yeah, back in the old days, when Dad and I were out there, it was cash only, or sometimes we'd take personal checks and then we have to kind of, but we never got really burnt. I think maybe 1 or 2 checks over, 15, 20 years that we were doing that we got burnt, but most of the time it was fine. But yeah, the technology of being able to pay right on site and know you got that money. Man,
I'm doing signs. I mean, some of my more expensive signs, they weren't planning on dropping that much extra money. So the Venmo was nothing. It was really having.
It opens up the capability that somebody can order something that they don't have cash in their pocket for. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
But one other thing on that venue, I mean, for other sign carvers out there, I mean, think about maybe some different venues. Don't just like focus in on a craft show or something. There's no telling where you make some money at. Because now I actually have a meeting with one of the people from the show about doing my peace, love, and weed sign and setting it up at their store and doing like a 60-40 take on it.
There you go.
Freaking awesome, man.
Excellent. That's cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, and then you can make them in batches, make your layout quicker, and yeah, that's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Get my name out there a little bit. Where did you get this? And
yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. And all those signs that you made that people bought, wherever they hang them up, people come over to the house, ask like, "Oh, dude, that's cool. Where'd you get that?" Now, when you would sell signs, do you have business cards that you handed out to people? That way,
I do have
contact info.
Yeah, I did pass out all of my business cards. I started with like 500 when I started this, and by the end of the show, I was almost done with business cards.
Do you have a ID on the back of all of your signs somehow? Something that says it's you?
For most of them, and all the big ones, I do my little scorpion carve. I know you've seen my scorpion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So usually I do that. I do the RJohnathon's, where the J, the scorpion is the J in
Yeah.
RJohnathon's when I do my logo.
Gotcha.
I
Gotcha.
carve it, with the profile bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you were out at a venue and all of the signs that you're doing weren't necessarily pre-made, you're on site, you would want to do those up ahead of time and have them done so you don't have to do them one at a time as somebody's buying a Carter's Ed and Helen or whatever. You'd
Yeah,
want that done up ahead of time.
I learned that at this show.
Yes, I bet you did.
Yeah.
Should have pre-stamped all those with my little insignia.
So what do you think? You gonna do more of this kind of stuff?
We have one coming up in October,
Yeah.
the same crowd, and they're going to do a show called Halloween.
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 Why not?
That's right up my alley. That's my
Oh,
Halloween.
that's mixing the two of your favorite things. Yeah.
So
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
I'm gonna have the same spot,
Wow.
same
awesome.
crowd, and because I sold a lot of Halloween in the middle of that July. I sold a lot of Halloween signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are those your, is that kind of your thing? Is that kind of your favorite, the Halloween stuff? Because it allows you to just kind of go crazy?
Yeah, because you're not making mistakes. That's the way it's supposed to be. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Right.
I did, and I started doing a few, and then I did one, and then Carmen bought it. I'm like, wow, she's a great carver. She's buying my sign. I'm gonna do some more of these because
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool. And now that I know Carmen a lot better, and she's awesome. But when she bought my sign, I was like, oh, cool. Also wanted to say this. I was scanning through some of the old videos, and somehow, I guess I got busy at Christmas because I didn't see the Friday night videos at Christmas. And you remember the gnome giveaway?
Yeah.
And that was the gnome that I sent Vicky.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool to watch Eric carve a design that I made.
Yeah. That was your no. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
very cool, man.
Yeah. No, that's so neat.
It was even better when I saw Vicky painting it, to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mom loves her gnomes. And the sign you made for her when we went back to Arkansas last year, she loves that sign. It's up on the sign wall in her shop.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So then the guy that has the venue where the show was, your wedding, and he's a wedding cake decorator as well.
No, he just does the venue. He
Does the venue.
He does all the catering, and he has all the stuff, the pavilions, and
Gotcha.
everything is there. The bridal rooms. He takes care of everything you need. He can take care of it to set a wedding up.
So was he happy with the turnout with your participation in it? Was he pretty pleased with it?
Yeah, he's very pleased with it.
Good.
And I've done a lot of signs for him too. So we work together a lot.
So you're kind of like paying it back that way because of the opportunity or whatever. So you really, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So does he have like festivals and different things going on there every 3, 4, 5 months or what?
Yeah, he's, after COVID kind of slowed things down a bit.
Yeah.
He's picking it back up and has decided to do a few more, more festival events.
Yeah.
The first few years, it was hard to get in there.
Yeah.
There was a wedding every Saturday. And that's how I met him, because I was delivering wedding cakes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we got to talking, and after I quit delivering wedding cakes, I still went out there to talk to him every now and then realized, well, we could do some stuff together.
Yeah. So where the venue is that your what was it, Glass and Weed, or what was it? What was the name of it?
It was the Hash and Glass Expo.
Ash and Glass. So did that pull population from a pretty big area? Was there a lot of people from a long ways away, or was it pretty much just localized?
It pulled from quite a ways around. I'd say 200 or 300 miles. We had a lot of people from Kansas City, a lot of people from St. Louis.
Really?
Some of the, the vendors were coming in from Kansas City and St. Louis. And
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
there's this last sign I sent to Arnold, Missouri, which is south of St. Louis.
Okay. And so is this an annual thing that he does, or was this
This was the first time he'd ever done it.
Okay. Gotcha.
But now they're talking, the second time will be in October when they do the next one.
Gotcha.
He's just now opening himself up to more,
That's great.
venues and festivals and stuff rather than just straight weddings.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
So are you looking at other like fairs and shows and stuff around your area to do?
I think what I want to do is maybe do 3, maybe to 4 a year. If they do a July and an October, I'll probably still do the Hash and Glass twice.
Yeah.
We have one in town called the Art in the Park, and that's a big one in Columbia. So I want to try to do that. It's very artsy, and a lot of fantastic crafters do the Art in the Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have the Hat and Craft Festival. So I'm looking to try to get in that one, because that one brings in people from all over, and that one's just
What is
across
it?
the Hat and Craft Festival.
Oh,
It's
I thought you said hat and crack. And I was like, that's maybe a crowd you don't want to go.
I may Google that later to see if
Yeah.
there is one. No, it's just a little small town, and it's just the only way people around here know where it is because they host this big craft festival once a year.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
But so I want a craft festival, I want my Hash and Glass, and then I want to find a redneck venue that I can sell my flags and my fishing and deer camp signs and
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Yeah. So Columbia, that's the town where you live, or you're outside of town, or?
I live just outside of Columbia.
And what's the population there? How many people?
I think like 40,000.
Okay.
Oh, it's a
Oh,
decent
it's
size.
It's a college town. The University of Missouri is here.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
there you go.
We have a couple, and we're located halfway between Kansas City and St. Louis.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some population to make signs for sure.
Yeah, I kept busy those first couple of years, busy enough just with friends and everybody I knew at Hy-Vee and
Yeah.
around. And I really don't want to get too popular. I mean, I still need to go hunting and fishing. I just did this to have a little extra cash to spend on fishing reels. And now I'm spending more time in the shop than I am out on the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, you got a lake near you then, huh?
Yeah, well, and we got Lake of the Ozarks, which is
Oh,
an hour and 15 minutes from me and an hour and 20 minutes from my dad.
gotcha. Yeah,
So we meet there a lot.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sounds
awesome.
nice.
How was your deer season? Totally off subject of sign carving, but I just gotta ask, how was your deer season?
My deer season was really good. One of the best deer seasons I ever had. I killed 2 nice bucks. I killed a really nice one with my bow, my crossbow. I'm getting a little old, but sitting with the crossbow. And then I killed a nice one on opening morning.
Dude,
Yeah, I think we talked about that when we were back in Arkansas last year. I think you mentioned the crossbow, the whole crossbow thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, none of my fingers go in the same direction. It's just from 57 years of hard living. So
Yeah.
yeah. I'm actually getting ready. Me and my cousin are going on our first backpack hunt. I've been all year. I've been getting all the different gear, and we've been kind of going back and forth. And we're going to be parking the truck and living out of a backpack for 4 or 5 days. Coming up at the end of next month.
yeah, Ooh, very nice, very nice.
I can't wait, man. I'm so freaking excited. But there was something else I wanted to ask you, and I can't remember what the heck it was. I thought I wrote it down. Oh, do you find that like, because a lot of people, especially me, I get stuck in, like you said, most of your signs go to like rednecks, the patriotic crowd, and that's kind of what I venture towards too. Do you find it kind of difficult to switch the theme at all, or do you just find a design that's like, oh, that would make a cool looking sign?
Yeah, a lot of the times when I see something, it's like, oh, that would be cool. It doesn't interest. I mean, it's not what I would perceive, but it's a cool sign, so I'll make
Yeah.
it. So I had a lot of different venues, but I've always, like when things that I watch skiing on TV. I have no interest in ever skiing down a mountain, but I love to watch people do it. So when I sit and watch a fishing show, I get mad at myself because I'm not out there
Yeah,
fishing.
yeah,
So I've always had, very differing things when it comes to what I want to do with art and draw. And
all right. Now,
and then over a career of 25 years, when other people were telling you what to draw,
yeah, right, yeah.
so you learn to draw a little bit of everything, and then you realize you can.
Do you ever sell online? Like, do you ever put your stuff out there and sell online?
I do not.
No,
Nope.
just because you stay busy enough with local business and stuff, so you don't bother putting it out.
Right. I want to do the stuff that I enjoy doing.
Yeah,
25 years of decorating cakes where people told me exactly what kind of design they wanted.
Yeah.
Burn me out. I like to create, but I'll create pretty much what I want.
Yeah.
I mean, I still do a lot of custom orders and let them draw. And then, and a lot of the custom stuff is, well, people they don't draw themselves. So it's like, well, do my name and maybe an eagle or something. Well, that's right up my alley because I can do all that and still feel creative enough to put my spin on it.
right, right. Now, do you ever get people that ask for like a mock-up, like, hey, show me what it's gonna look like?
A few here and there, but I've got,
Yeah,
and it is just chock full of pictures of every single thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
the way to do it.
between the book and then I'll usually draw the sign out for them
Yeah,
a little bit too on the paper, so they're not just going in blind. They have a pretty good lookout
Right.
and layout on it.
Yeah, that's what I always did. We just took pictures of everything, had folders like that when people ask, and we made sure that they were satisfied with what they got. But at some point in time, they had to kind of, yeah, trust me, I'll make you a sign and you'll like it. And they always did. So yeah, I
I don't really see doing a mock-up because then I have to charge them for that piece of wood that I used to mock it up.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I get people. In fact, I just did a ranch sign for a lady, and she asked for like a computer rendition. She thought that like I do it all on the computer, so I can just take a screenshot. And I was like, no, it doesn't really work like that, And that's the thing is at a certain point, the customer has to kind of, once they get an idea of the type of work you do with the pictures and stuff, they got to just trust you that you're going to make them what they want,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one reason I stay offline. And
Good for you. Good for you. If you can do that and you've got the business that you want, you're kind of geared toward doing these venues, 2, 3 times, 4 times a year, then and sell what you can in between. Sounds great. That's perfect. So most of the time you're using cedar now or what?
yeah, most of the time I am using cedar now.
Yeah.
I do have a bunch of walnuts, so you're going to see some walnut come up here pretty quick. But
Yeah.
A friend of mine is the wood teacher for the local high school,
Ah.
and everything he cuts off of his mill that he just got has to be he wants it perfect. I'm like, let me come out and grab some of those offcuts.
Yeah. Oh, heck
And
yeah.
the offcuts were amazing. There's so many things I can see and do with that
Yeah,
that he doesn't see because it's not square and perfect. And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Man, in your
And-
area of the country, the cedar you guys have out there is just, even like Jason Mace, down in Arkansas, he's a few hours away from you, but in that area of the country, that cedar out there is just all over the.
So is that considered Eastern red or Western red or something else?
I consider it an Eastern red.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Henry drives up from Texas to get
Yeah.
cedar out of Missouri.
Yeah.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah. He gets
Yeah.
truckloads, like a big trailer, and he gets a whole year's cedar. If I remember right, he'll go up there and get cedar for the whole year and take it back. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long haul from Texas, so he's got some good stuff.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, he's-
Holy.
And most of mine comes off my dad's farm. So
Okay. And how, so if it's coming off your dad's farm, like your dad's cedar trees, how long does that have to sit, or, what kind of processing to get it ready to start carving signs?
usually I try to go a year out when I'm starting to get low to get something for next year.
Gotcha. So you'll mill it and then put it on stickers and let it sit for a year?
Put it on stickers and be sure and spray the ends
Gotcha.
Yeah.
and paint the ends.
Twisting and
Splitting mostly.
Yep.
Story for you. The first time I got a load of cedar from my dad, I took it to the Amish and had them cut it all up and brought it home. And I called Henry out of the blue. He'd never talked to me before.
Yeah.
And so I started asking him a few questions. Look, Henry, I just got a bunch of cedar. And so we start talking, and we go over telling stories about his dad and you guys and how he knows everybody. And then he's like, and 45 minutes later, he's like, well, I probably ought to get back to the party. It's my birthday today, and they're throwing a party. I was like, oh man, go back to your party. You didn't need to talk to me for 45 minutes.
That sounds like Henry, though.
Yeah, just a great guy.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to meeting him. When we head down to Texas, he's coming to the show, right?
I'm hoping that he does. Yeah.
Because I've never met him before.
Yeah, we're heading to Texas, to that Texas woodworking festival. The day he gets back from his hunting trip, we're getting in the truck and driving to Texas. So yeah, it should be fun.
It will be. It'll be a
Yeah.
long day traveling, but
Yeah.
it'll be a good time.
All right.
One of my favorite video you guys have done lately was the right versus wrong video.
Yeah.
That was classic because I could see both sides.
Yeah,
We had fun with that.
we did.
We did have it. I think some people just like take us too serious. Like, are these guys really arguing?
Yeah.
We're just having a blast. We're just having so much fun. But it's nice when we can bring our personalities into it and have some humor. Ryan and the Daisy Dukes, that whole video. Have you seen that one yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't blame you for not wanting to talk about that one. I don't want to talk
I
about
was going to let it slide.
Yeah.
But the thing that I got out of that is, yes, Eric, you're usually right. But I don't care. I'm going to go Ryan's way on a lot of this stuff just because of my personality.
Well, it's funny because the way we filmed that one is we came up with our top 5 disagreements, right?
Yeah.
And then I went and I just went down the list and said what I thought. Dad went down the list and he filmed his own and I filmed my own. And then when we're editing, it's like, oh, dude, this is freaking perfect.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
And then we had the plan. I think it was my idea to have the plan to walk in the back door
Yeah.
while you were
Yeah.
filming, and what's going on, and that whole thing. And we tried to make it, scuffle over the camera.
It was fun though.
It
We
was
had a
fun.
good time
We had a
with that.
blast with it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looked like it. At first I thought it was going to be Ryan just telling me the things that he disagreed with you on, and then when it flashed to you, I'm like, oh, this is great. They planned this out.
It was fun. We need to do more stuff like
Yeah,
that.
we do.
It was a blast. But all right, my friend. Well, anything else you'd like to tell everybody, or anything we can answer for you, or, I don't know, how we wrap this thing up?
Closing thoughts, how's that? Any
All right.
closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Don't be afraid to try a new venue.
Yeah,
You know, the venues that I was supposed to go to, and and so I went to one that I wasn't supposed to go to, and I did better than I've ever done before.
yeah,
So kind of think outside the box and try to get yourself, and always have fun. You don't ever want to get to where it's not fun anymore.
yeah. That's great
I
advice.
mean, you guys been doing it forever and still have fun doing it.
We
And
do.
it's-
Yeah,
We're working on a project right now. Everybody's gonna see in the next few weeks that is super special. And we're just having a blast with it.
yeah,
It's frustrating because there's a lot of elements that are coming into play. So at some points it's frustrating, but we're getting close to the end now.
yeah.
So it should turn out pretty cool, unless we screw it up on this next process.
Yeah.
But
Here's
Yeah.
hoping.
And-
If we do screw it up, we'll just cut this part of the podcast off so
Yeah.
nobody hears about it.
Well, I think one thing that y'all have done that you may not realize is from your videos and stuff, you've trained us so well that we don't need you as much anymore.
Oh,
We just like you.
yeah. Oh, hey, we'll take that.
Good.
We'll take
that's
that.
fine.
Yeah.
That's terrific. We've got a bunch of little, community of people, and that's one of the things that I think is so cool. We were talking to somebody the other day, and they had a neighbor. It wasn't Frank and Bo, but it was somebody that we were talking to that had a neighbor that was one of our followers, and he was one of the, and they ended up kind of talking, and we were kind of the common thread that brought them together, and now they're friends. So that's so freaking cool and humbling that so many people like you and Carmen and Henry and people that have kind of got to know each other and become friends, Jeff Dale and Charlie, and so many that have become friends just because of this silly thing that Dad and I started. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people out there, and anybody that's carving and needs some help, there's so many members that would be glad to help you out.
Yeah.
I got asked to do a 10-foot sign one time, and it was a Cuban food sign with the Cuban flag on it.
Yeah.
And so I texted Eric first on how to build the sign. So then I was talking to a few more people, and I called Bob Stratford out of Kansas City.
Yeah.
And he was basically, oh yeah, well, I would do it this way with the vinyl. Well, all right, I'll drive down there. I'll drive like 2.5 hours to come see you and help you. And he came out and spent the day with me.
Yeah.
On that sign.
No kidding.
That sounds like
Yeah.
Bob.
Bob's such a cool dude,
Yeah.
man. We met him at the meetup here last year.
Yeah.
Him and Sandy,
Yeah.
really great.
And Sandy's just was down with Carmen. They spent, I don't know, 4 or 5 days playing around down there. And
Yeah.
to know all these friendships have kind of taken place, and the common thread that brought them together was our silly crazy.
From the day she bought my Halloween sign till today, she's usually my go-to on all
Yeah.
Halloween signs. I have to run it by her first, or if I'm planning something.
Yeah.
Carmen's
Her
a
and Dad.
sweetheart. We
Yeah.
dig her.
Great.
And that's the thing I was trying to get at. I mean, there are so many people in your community that would be glad to help you out. I have Carmen and Bob who've done anything I've ever needed to do, so I don't really have to go much further than that, because I know I could text Eric and he would help me out. I'd text Ryan and he'd help me out.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to get out there, because the whole community, we're here for you. Anything you want.
That's so cool.
That's
That's a great way to wrap it up.
All right.
All
All
right.
right, well,
Oh, look
there
at
we
that.
go.
Look at that.
There we go,
Save it
baby.
for the end. Look at
Yeah.
you. Uh,
Looking good, man.
I thought you had like one of those Jewish
Yarmulke?
yarmulke.
no, I always wear my hat. I still do wear it backwards most of the time, but
Yeah.
Good for you,
Right.
see? You're still a young man.
You're still a kid at heart. Yep. Yep.
get it hard.
All right, RJ.
All right.
Well, thanks for taking the time and talking to us, man. We sure do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for all you do, and tell Vicky hi for me. Love Vicky.
We definitely will. We definitely will. Take it easy, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, we're out. Thanks, guys.
All right, buddy.
All right. Bye.